what happened and how you guys can go with that.
I think just the sense of urgency on the offensive rebound and turnovers. We knew that coming into the game. They're a team that's good at creating a little bit of chaos. And we didn't handle it well last night. We've shown we can handle it. Handled it well on the road, even though they put a pretty good dent in the game with offensive rebounding and turnovers. But we just didn't handle it as well last night. And there's a lot to take from it, learn from. Good film session today. We'll keep growing.
I saw you in a pick and roll situation last night. Is that something that has been discussed further in terms of putting you in that role, or is that what just happened?
It's organic.
Okay.
It's really organic. I'm just kind of happened in the flow of the game based on matchups and what we kind of wanted to get out of things. And yeah, it just comes down to just, situations and matchups and playing out of our stuff.
Is the spacing when Booker blitz, because that could happen obviously again, probably will happen again.
Will happen again.
It will happen again.
For sure.
How important is spacing when he gets blitzed?
Last night we went to that big lineup, and they adjusted, and that made it a little bit more difficult. Not having as much shooting on the floor there for a couple of those stretches. That's where a few turnovers came, just because we don't play with that lineup very often. So that's still somewhat of a learning curve. If we're going to have that lineup on the floor, it's still figuring out, okay, this is how we attack a blitz when we have Bismack and JaVale, or DA and JaVale, or whatever, two bigs on the floor. So just from a spacing standpoint, when you don't have that, additional floor spacer and two guys who like to play in the paint, it just changes things. And that's where I think they adjusted after we kind of went on our run with that bigger lineup and kind of, shortened that lead a little bit. They adjusted and kind of took advantage of that a little bit. So that's on us, and we just have to, like I said, we watch film, figure out how to pick that apart, attack it when we have that lineup on the floor, and obviously, revisit some things when we have our regular size lineup on the floor too. So.
Landry, when offensive rebounding numbers are where they are for the opposing team, what do you attribute that to the most that you guys need to clean up?
Part of it, you got to give them credit. Chris Boucher, I don't know if you guys were stood next to that guy, but just how long they are. Some of those lineups they put on the floor where it's just like, you can almost tell that some of their offense is just like, get it on the rim. Just try to get it on the rim, honestly, and they just go try to run and go get it. They're good at it. So part of it, you give them their credit, but also, like I said earlier, just the sense of urgency to know, like, all right, we've got to be the enforcer a little bit more, hit first. We can't stand and watch after, work your ass off a whole possession, guard, contest the shot. That's not the end of the possession. So you got to get back in and rebound and hit. Might need to help somebody out who's on a mismatch, on a switch or whatever, on offensive rebounding situations. So, I think I'd attribute it to that, just a heightened sense of urgency early on from the get-go.
Landry, I wanted to ask you about Biz. I know he hasn't been your teammate for long, but when you hear he's donating his entire salary to build a hospital back home, what are your impressions of him?
It doesn't surprise me. He's been here for, a couple months, and he's been awesome. And like some of the conversations him and I have had, we both are, we read a little bit and talk about what we're reading. And he's just a good dude, has a great perspective on everything, understands what's going on, knows how to do his job, be a pro within these walls, obviously, but then obviously has a lot he's doing outside of basketball and doing really well, and a lot of good things for a lot of people beyond the scope of basketball. So it doesn't surprise me. When you talk to him, how big of a heart he has and how good of a person he is. So and I think that's why he fits here, why we like him, why he's one of us. So yeah.
Landry, you played in two big markets in Los Angeles and played in New York last year, namely Brooklyn. And, when you were in LA, the Clippers, it was, had that super team title. And, also in New York last year, Brooklyn last year. So do you feel like coming here that is, even though you're defending Western champs, that there's less pressure because you're in a small market compared to those bigger markets and media attention?
No, I mean, it's just different. I wouldn't say it's less pressure. I think the emphasis and the perspective we keep is within these walls. So knowing, we'd already been there. This team had been to the finals, and that's kind of the standard that we have set. Knowing like, okay, this is what we're capable of. That's really the only expectation or level you go off of every day, beyond external media attention or lack thereof, whatever you want to call it. So I don't view it as any more or less pressure playing here. Just think if you look at just the standard that we set, that's really all you have to go off of.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is because the emphasis on Lakers and media getting so much vitriol because of the record, also because of with the Nets last year and playing with Kevin, and also you had Kyrie and James and such. So that's why I ask: do you feel like there was more if you came up short of the title? There was.
I think I'll hear what you're saying. The way I would put it, I think, is if there's a big blockbuster deal with names like that, I don't care where they go. I think there's going to be pressure, expectation, a lot more of it. We haven't had Chris coming here obviously was a big deal in his first year, but with the media and social media and how fast things move and whatnot, when it's a big name and it happens like that overnight, James Harden to Philly, Ben Simmons to Brooklyn, Russell Westbrook to LA, these big, huge things that happen. I think that's where, more of the attention pressure you're kind of talking about maybe generates, as opposed to just simply being in that market. I think that's just kind of the day and age that we live in. That market, that small market or whatever, is accessible from anywhere in the world. So I think that's really more what it comes down to, as opposed to just strictly the location.
But it's almost like once Philly got hard and got raised.
Right. It changes things. Even if you're not a Sixers fan, if you're somebody, whatever, and then they just get blown out by 30, oh, Sixers suck. James Harden sucks. That's just the media, social media and all that. That's just our landscape that we live in. So those type of things just draw more attention.
Yeah, when Chris got here, same thing.
Yeah, they went from
oh my God,
they'll probably make the playoffs too.
Okay, they got Chris Paul. They need to,
right.
It just changes things. That's the gravity of those kind of players. So
that's all I got.
Cool. Appreciate y'all, fellas.